Okay, this is what I was looking forward to seeing. Here I am again, this is Wayne from Pisces, and we've got the parameter totally unboxed and ready to do some testing. So let me just talk a little bit about what this device is. You saw it in the last video. So this is the extension pole, the telescopic pole. This is what's actually going to hold the parameter sensor, horizontal and level. As you can see, it swivels here. So I'll always have it where it's horizontal in the tank, and I'll move it sideways. So the light hits the top section. So we're ready powered up. We're going to take a quick idea as to what it is at the very surface. Now you see the two tanks, I have them on different settings. This is the white lights on, and I have the blue lights on that one. So I'll just power the unit up. And right at the surface, in the corner, I have, this is reading 60 in terms of power. Let me tell you what power means and stands for. So power means photosynthetic active radiation. That's the energy of light that the different animals or plants need to actually survive and produce food. So your corals, different corals need different levels of photosynthetic active radiation, predominantly for the symbiotic algae that lives within inside them. So it's actually the algae that's using up the power to convert sugars that the coral itself now eats. So they two work together, and that's why we always need to know what the power is. If your light isn't producing enough photosynthetic active radiation, then your corals are going to suffer. Some corals like a low power, some corals like a high power. So at the surface of the water, you're going to have the highest power. As you go down to the base, the power is going to reduce. So right here, the power has dropped to 30. Whereas at the surface, I'm reading about 60. So when you're mapping your tank, you're going to move to the different edges. You come across to the center, almost in a grid pattern. And you write the numbers down. And I do the same thing for the base. And I go over and I check the edges. And this gives me a good idea of how the light is distributed. So like in this dark corner over here, it's really low. So that's about 10. As I come over here, it picks up. This is about 30. And I get another 25 here. So our flag tank on the white lights, this is what the power looks like. Let's take a look and see comparative what the blue looks like. So there is a run time for the screen. When it seems like it's about 5 minutes, it's the first time we are using it. So at the surface here, just under the straight blues, the surface is 20. So it's a much lower power just using the straight blues. If I go all the way down to the bottom, I'm now about 12. Center of this one as well. Here, right underneath the center of the light, I'm reading, and I'm just at the surface where the sensor literally hits the water. So I do a surface reading. This is 45, and I'll go right just below the surface after that. And that's 30, 32 to be exact. So when the light hits the water, that's where you have your refraction, your reflections, that's where a lot of the light will start to scatter. So I like to do a surface and just below the surface, then I'll all go down to the base again. So this will help you know when you buy your corals from Pisces, how to acclimate them when you take them home. So you can always ask us, what's the power in the tank? And then when you put your corals in your tank, you can adjust it to that, and then gradually carry them up to what that coral needs. So we're going to go and test a few other bands and see what those are, including a planted aquarium. So be right back. So now we are on the Radiance XR30s, and I am at the far corner of the tank here, just doing the surface reading. Right at the surface, I am reading 700, just about 700 power, 650. If I move over to the center of the tank, between the two lights, it drops. And if I go right underneath, then you see how high we are at the very surface. Just right below the water, it drops to 600. So now let's profile the tank, let's see what it looks like at depth. So what I'm going to do is just going to make an adjustment here so I can keep it vertical. So at the very far bottom of my tank, my power is 100, 112. As I move across, now to the middle of the tank at the very bottom, sit here again. I'm at 50. And then I come all the way over to the very far side. Darker spots. I'll turn them around this way. And I'm at 30.
Now we're just going to take it back.
Okay.
But yeah, I can give you
check the back. So you always move in a grid form.
Normally I have lots of cards.
And with this telescopic arm, it makes it easy to work all the way around the tank. So the very back tank right in line with the grid, I am at 200.
Oh yeah. This is it.
And far back corner over here.
And this is definitely not 12. Yeah.
Timed out.
So
I am at 80. So that gives me a good idea of the power in the tank. The very far back corner, the darkest section. Ooh, it's so dark back here. This is literally 10. So nothing much will be growing back here. As you can see, this is a dark section of the tank. But where we have the multiporo doing best right at the center, that's between 250 and 300 power. Alright, so that's this Red Sea 525. Let's take a peek at the other tank at the front and then we'll look on the planted aquarium. Now for our front display. What are the Red Sea lights looking like in comparison to the radions? Well, let's see. At the very surface, right under my light, we're still just above the surface of the water. I'm looking at 230. Between the two lights where there is an overlap, that's 160. And if I go right down to where the multiporo is and say what's happening right here, what makes you grow so much, I am just about 80 power right here. This is 80 power right here. If I'm looking at what's usually very difficult to grow in this tank is some of your stony type corals. This is a very low 50 power. In fact, let me adjust this guy more so I can go down at a better angle. Right to the base of the tank where the coral is, that's 50. And where this guy is here, that's just about 60. So that gives you an idea of what this light is doing. It's about 100 right here. And for this coral, I'm sitting at just about 50. The last one I will look at are you guys right in the dark corner of the tank. And that's 20. And these guys are doing so well even underneath such low power to the very base of the corner of the tank. So with this, you're going to get a good idea of how to place your corals, how to manage them, how to set your lights so that you're not burning your corals up. Just take a look at what the lights look like on the planted aquarium. Always remember, before you move from tank to tank with your parameter, always give it a good rinse. This is always a point of cross-contamination, so between tanks I just rinse it off with just fresh water to make sure everything is fine. So this is the Fluval Flex 32.5. The light is actually attached to the hood, so what I've just pushed it back to just get a little bit of an angle in here so I can see what it reads under the plant grow light. So at the very surface, right underneath the light here, the power I'm reading is quite impressive. This is 160. So I'm seeing up to about 160 right around here. As I go into the base of this tank, midway in between the plants, now we're starting to drop. So here it's about 20. And if I go deep down into the bushes, at the base of his dark tank, I'm almost looking at 7. Now, each plant, just like corals, has its own power. For instance, cryptosyrenes, some of those lower light grow plants, they're usually, I would say, below 50 power for them to grow healthy. So at the center of this tank, we're at 105. And at the very base here, I'm at 30. So when you're having issues with your plants, you can always go in. You can easily Google, you'll find the power for each and every one of your plants. You can go in with the power meter. This power meter rents for $20 for your first 3 days, $10 a day after that. And we have an $899 security deposit that you get once you return the power meter in its good condition. So with this tool, you're going to be able to dial in your plants, you're going to be able to dial in your corals, and you'll know when your lights need to be adjusted or if they're failing. So that's the power meter. We're now releasing it by Pisces. If you need to rent it, come talk to us right here. Thank you.